Trump put out the message on his Truth Social that New York DA Alvin Bragg plans on arresting him on Tuesday. Now, quick side note, something you probably already know by now. Alvin Bragg is one of 75 DAs across the United States of America that are funded and backed by George Soros. George Soros, that evil communist piece of trash who should have his American citizenship revoked and should be deported from our nation, has spent millions and millions and millions of dollars, and he brags about this publicly, to elect district attorneys who will do what? Why does the communist gain power? Anyone who watches this show already knows the answer to that. He only gains it for two reasons. Why? What's he do with power? The communist rewards his friends and punishes his enemies. George Soros put those DAs into office to make sure they would turn violent criminals loose, thus causing more chaos and angst, which always aids the communists, and so they would prosecute the political enemies of America's communists. That's why Alvin Bragg is there. And that's why you should be a lot of things today. Maybe you're sad about your country. Maybe you're mad about what they're doing to Trump. Maybe you're mad and sad. Maybe you're a lot of things. But what you should not be under any circumstances is surprised. You should have seen all of this coming. Geez, I told you it was coming last year. Remember, I'm not your mommy. It's not my job to powder your butt for you and tell you everything will be okay. I am America's daddy, so I'm about to tell you how it is. They're going to indict Donald Trump. They're almost undoubtedly going to indict Donald Trump and arrest Donald Trump, and the chances are not zero that that arrest of Donald Trump comes on television. Now, how did I know that's where this was going? Why should you have known where this was going? Well, this is going to be a little dark, and I don't think I've ever shared this with you in this amount of depth. And if it's a little bit down, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to give you the honest truth of what I see and where we're going. You ready for this? We have DAs like Alvin Bragg. All right, you know that already. Alvin Bragg's a piece of trash. This isn't justice. This isn't... Okay, all right. We got all that. I know that. All that stuff's true. But you need to step out of this country you used to live in and step out of this world of make-believe and step into the real world. Like back when I predicted that they were going to arrest Trump and do it on camera. You know what I got a ton of? What's he even done wrong? That's not true. Hey, what about the First Amendment? Okay. We are not dealing with America of 2020. This is a whole new America than even 3 years ago. And we're definitely not dealing with an America of 2000. I'm trying to bring it home how fast things have changed for you. You are dealing with communists who for decades have dreamt of burning this country to ash and locking up all their political enemies. These people never wake up a single day in their lives the way you wake up and say, well, I wonder what the Constitution says about this. Well, I shouldn't do this. It wouldn't be right. They don't even think in those terms. Those thoughts never cross their mind at all. And frankly, at this point in time, if you're still saying things like that, I find you childlike and naive. And it's time for you to slap awake and wake up and realize where we are. You're not only dealing with full-blown communists now, you can't possibly comprehend, and maybe you don't want to comprehend, how many Alvin Braggs are graduating from the elite law schools in America today. This year. How many are graduating from medical school this year? It's not where we are. It's where we're going. You think this is bad, and it is. This is but a taste of what the future of America will be. Today, there are 75 Alvin Braggs in America. Tomorrow, there are 7,500. Coming soon to a town near you. unless you win local elections and fortify in your red area like you should be doing. Today, there are Alvin Braggs in your hospital, your nurses won, maybe your doctors won. Tomorrow, they're all Alvin Bragg. We are heading into a period of time where we have to understand logistics, reinforcements, and things like that. And this is what I mean. Do you know how many people graduate college every single year on average in this nation? 4 million of them. 4 million of them. And while the 2 million Republicans, if there even are that many, are graduating college and going into engineering, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, or maybe I'm going to start my own business, the 2 million communists are going into law. They're running for office. They're taking over your school board, your city council, your district attorney's office. They're going to be your local judge. Maybe they'll even sit on your jury one day. And all of these people believe you should be imprisoned by who you are, for who you are. It has nothing to do with what you do or didn't do, but he didn't do anything wrong. What are you talking about? What does that matter at all? If you think that matters, you don't understand at all what time it is and where you are. We are going into a dark place. And this is why I have told you over and over and over again to leave, flee your blue city and get to a red area and then become an activist and dig in because you have fortifications to make because the communist hordes are coming. Run for your school board. Run for your city council. You go be the local judge. You go take over the local library because they're coming. I promise you they are. You ready to be offended? Because you're about to be. I don't care. I'm not your mom. I don't care about powder in your butt for you. You ready to be offended? The January 6th political prisoners have been locked in cages for 2 years. Many of them have public defenders. As you've seen, some of them have even taken their own lives. They've lost their careers, their reputations. Many have lost their spouses. Their families have broken up. And do you know that Donald Trump didn't pay any of their legal fees? And maybe right now you're sitting there saying, yes, he did. No, he didn't. His PAC paid for some of the legal stuff for the January 6th commission witnesses, not the poor schlups rotting in jail right now. And I'm not sitting here saying Donald Trump had an obligation to do that. But when Donald Trump took to Truth Social and he announced that he was about to be arrested by Alvin Bragg, he finished not only one post, but another post by telling people to protest. Protest. Go protest. Protest. Well, the last time people showed up to protest on behalf of Donald Trump, he went to Mar-a-Lago for 2 years and they rotted in a gulag. So kindly don't show up in New York City to protest on Donald Trump's behalf. You can be mad, you can fly your Trump flag, you can protest in your red area, you can post on social media. But if you show up in New York City with communist DAs, communist cops, communist FBI, communist judges, and communist jurors ready to throw you in federal prison for the next 10 years after they entrap you that day, frankly, you're so stupid you deserve to go to prison. And shame on him for abusing his followers. Because anytime you have followers, no matter who you are, you're going to have a certain percentage of them who will lay down in traffic for you, and they trust what you say, and they'll do what you command them to do. And a certain percentage of his followers are going to obey this command. And you know where he'll be? Nowhere while they rot. Oh, I forgot. He did raise some money for the January 6th political prisoners. Right about the time he announced he was running for president again about 15 minutes ago. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I'm right. Treat your followers better, no matter who you are. No matter who you are. Celebrity, politician, TV guy, radio. Your followers deserve some respect. There are things in my mind that I wish weren't there. Things I've seen, things I know. I shouldn't know who Dylan Mulvaney is. You shouldn't know who Dylan Mulvaney is. But if I know, you've got to know. So here he is.
Normalize the bulge. We are normalizing the bulge. Women can have bulges and that's okay.
We really need to bring back bullying in this country. You know what? I'm pro-bullying now. That video just turned me, I'm pro-bullying. And of course, this guy gets celebrated by everybody in this country. Why wouldn't he? We're here in the US of K, where everything LGBTQ, I've lost track of how many new letters and symbols they've tacked on to this group of freaks. But all of them are now the lions of our society. The new USA Today by Woman of the Year. Yeah, there's a dude. It's a dude. That's year number 2 in a row that it's a dude. And we have things, and you know what's crazy? I'm gonna play you this little video from Dick Levine here in a second. I saw this video, and my first thought was, that's ridiculous. That's not true. That'll never happen. And the more I think about it, man, maybe Dick's right.
I'm a positive and optimistic person, and I choose to be positive and optimistic. And I think that the wheel will turn on this. I think that it's not going to be politically advantageous. It wasn't particularly in 2022. And so I think that as we look to all the different elections in 2024, I think the next 2 years are going to be challenging, but I am positive and optimistic and hopeful that the wheel will turn after that, and that this issue won't be as politically and socially such a minefield. In the meantime, I can say that the children that you serve, and the young people that you serve, their families, and you all as their providers have support at the highest levels of the federal government. President Biden supports you.
What if this stuff, all this stuff we're recoiling in horror at the moment, what if it is going to be normal? Have you thought about that? I'm not saying it's ever going to be normal for you. I'm not saying that, or me. I'm not saying that. But what if 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we do see some poor teenage girl who's been lied to by parents, psychologists, doctors, and she's gone in and had herself physically mutilated. And what if most of society 20 years from now looks at that girl and just thinks, oh, that's okay. That's something that's okay. No, but that's just totally normal. Isn't that crazy to think about? But that is the way this stuff tends to go. And when we say things like, Jesse, that can't happen. Jesse, that won't happen. Man, what area haven't they infiltrated and taken over? I used to hear this all the time about the Marines, my beloved Marine Corps. Jesse, they're not coming for the Marines. They'll never get the Marines. The Marines, like 15 minutes ago, put out something on social media with the big pride flag as bullets in the helmet. We have they're not going to come for country music. Really? One of the biggest, if not the biggest country music star in the United States of America is Maren Morris. Here she was.
And yes, I introduced my son to some drag queens today, so Tennessee, arrest me.
Why would Tennessee arrest her? Because, of course, they prohibit any tranny shows for kids. But look, that's country music. And did you hear what the crowd did when she said that? Because I want to be clear, that's a country music crowd. Country music. You would think, even if you're not a country music fan, that'd be, like God and country kind of a crowd. Mr. Producer, if you wouldn't mind, would you play that little 5-10 second clip for me one more time and tell me, do you hear boos when she says this?
And yes, I introduced my son to some drag queens today, so Tennessee, arrest me.
And hey, that's the kind of country we have. It's the US of gay. And sometimes people will yell at me when I say that. Jesse, that's not who we are. Jesse, it's not our new national religion. What are you talking about? Let's live in the world that's real, not the world you want to be real, not the world your dad had, your grandpa had. Let's live in the world that is real. Nations have religions. They all do. Tiny tribes, big nations, they all have religions. And you know how you can tell what the national religion is? It's very easy to tell. You'll see it reflected in every part of the culture. If you go to Saudi Arabia today, you walk into private businesses, you will see references to Islam. Their laws, they revolve around Islam. Their entertainment, singers, they talk about Islam. If I go down to the mall here, I'm in Texas, I've got a mall 20 minutes from my studio right here. Took my sons there a couple weekends ago. It's weird, I didn't see any crosses, but I did see a bunch of rainbow flags posted in the windows. It's weird because country music stars get up there now in this society and say this. Actors like Billy Porter, it's weird, I don't hear him pushing Christianity.
The leading cause of death in children are guns.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're guns.
Yeah.
I know it's the morning and I'm not supposed to be screaming, but they're guns.
Yeah.
Not drag queens.
Not drag queens.
No.
Leave us alone.
That's
What
the
are
point.
we talking about and what are we doing? And everybody's so scared because, oh, if we do that, then we might have a civil war. We're already in a civil war, y'all. It's a civil war of the mind. They're messing with our minds. We're already in it.
The U.S. of gay. We lack I wanted to say we lack a seriousness there, but oddly, I think that lacks the seriousness of our problem. Here's what I mean. As a nation, we don't focus on anything that matters anymore. And it's not as if it's just some people on the street corner, so some hippie on the corner with a sign in his hands. At the highest levels of power, at critical positions, we are focused on everything that doesn't matter. In fact, we're focused on insanity most of the time, which that in and of itself would be a problem. If America was the only country on earth and we were focused on all this crazy stuff, it would still be a big deal. But we lose sight of something as Americans because we've been number one for so long. We're used to being the best. We've been the best my whole life, been the best your whole life, no matter how old you are, but that's just what we've been. We lose sight of the fact there are other major nations on this planet making moves, and because we've been number one forever, we forget that they want to be number one, meaning they have to knock us out of that slot. It's not a small thing, it's a massive thing that the oil-producing countries of the world are currently locking arms. Xi Jinping joining arms with Vladimir Putin. At the same time, they're brokering deals with Iran, Saudi Arabia. Let's not forget they're doing military drills with Venezuela, largest oil deposits in the world, and let's throw in North Korea and their nuclear weapons as well. We won't even get into South Africa. You don't think about South Africa because it's way across the pond, full of resources. These countries are joining together, and they're joining together to knock us off. They are focused on knocking us off. What are we focused on? Well, this.
You know, I literally, as my sister would say, I wrote the Violence Against Women Act with my own paw. Proves protection for the underserved communities, including Black, Latina, Brown, and Asian American, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders, LGBTQ survivors.
Remember this, when we talk about things like Russia and China, like I just did, Iran, Venezuela, when you think about them like a country, you're probably missing the boat. I'm probably missing the boat. Xi Jinping is a human being, just like you. Vladimir Putin is a human being, just like you. And just like you, when they watch things like that on TV, they come to some conclusions. When Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin are sitting down for some egg rolls and goulash or whatever those two eat when they're together, what do you think they think when they see the American? What do you think goes through their head? Do you think they think they're in a good spot to knock us out right about now? I'd say they do. When they see that the Department of Defense has a group of military doctors, Department of Defense, the DOD, talking about puberty blockers for 7-year-olds, what do you think they think? Do you think they think America is ripe for the picking? They do. They read all this stuff too. They know what's going on in this country. It's all on the news because what's going on in our country isn't even hidden. Oh, the endless filth and idiocy we celebrate and focus on, we do it on television. Our leaders brag about it. And Xi Jinping is right there with his TV remote, laughing with all his military advisors. Ha, 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 look at America. That's the God's honest truth. When John Kirby goes on television and says our foreign policy is worried about the LGBTQ thing, what do you think Vladimir Putin thinks when he watches this?
And President Biden has been nothing but consistent about his foundational belief in human rights, and LGBTQ plus rights are human rights. We, again, back to the earlier question, are never going to shy away, be bashful about speaking up for those rights and for individuals to live as they deem fit, as they want to live. And that's something that's a core part of our foreign policy, and it will remain so.
What do you think that new alliance of nations thinks when they watch video like that? Did you know, let me ask you something. Did you know we still have 175 Americans in Afghanistan, according to our own Secretary of State?
There are several Americans who are being detained by the Taliban. We are working to secure their freedom as we speak. Americans who identify themselves to us, American citizens who identify themselves to us, who are in Afghanistan, some of whom have been there since the withdrawal, some of whom went back to Afghanistan. There are that we're in contact with, about 175. 44 of them are ready to leave, and we are working to effectuate their departure.
Does the number one nation on earth beg a bunch of goat herders in Afghanistan for our citizens back? Or does the number one nation on earth deliver me my citizens back or you're all going to die? That's what the number one nation on earth does. Do you think China would get on their knees and beg the Taliban to return 175 Chinese citizens to them? No, they wouldn't. Because China's interested in being number one. You know what? Maybe I spoke too soon, though. Maybe we shouldn't go in there guns blazing to get our people back, being as how the Taliban still have over $7 billion in our military equipment. They're shooting our M4s and flying our helos around still. Oh, and did I mention that China has already obviously declared war on this nation in various ways? Not open war, of course. They traffic in fentanyl. They're spying on you while you watch your TikTok videos. Here's the TikTok CEO.
We rely on global interoperability, and we have employees in China. So yes, the Chinese engineers do have access to global data.
You have access to global data.
We have heard.
Not storage.
No, storage has always been in Virginia and Singapore. The physical service.
You have no access to storage, to American data today.
That's not what I said. I said.
So you do have access to American data, and you have storage of American data.
The American data has always been stored in Virginia and Singapore in the past. And access of this is on an as-required basis by our engineers globally. By engineers for business purposes.
By engineers?
This is a private
ByteDance?
ByteDance.
The Communist Party?
No.
Why? How can you say that?
This is a
if they have access.
Private business. This is a private business.
All those videos you watch with your kids and share with your buddies. Oh my gosh, look at this dog on TikTok. They've stored all your data. They know everything about you. The Chinese Communist Party knows your likes, your dislikes, your video preferences. And maybe it's time to ask just how many United States of America politicians are already bought off by the Communist Party. Here's Democrat.
Why the hysteria and the panic and the targeting of TikTok? You know, Robert, I just realized something. Republicans ain't got no swag. That's why they want to ban TikTok. Republicans ain't got no swag. That's the problem.
Why do I call diversity the death of everything? Sounds kind of dramatic, right? Maybe a little melodramatic. It's a little over the top. The death of everything. You're telling me everything's going to die? Well, yeah. Everything actually is dying already, and it will continue dying. And it's not complicated. It's actually very straightforward and simple. Everyone understands it once you explain it to them. If I am starting a little village, starting my own little village, remember, it's gonna be 100 of us. I'm gonna be king, of course, but either way, I'm gonna start my own little village. And we're gonna need people who are gonna build the houses and build the pastures and tend the crops and collect the water and give us medical care and things like that. And I have all these people I can choose from. Whenever I need to fill a job, there are all these people. There's this big pool of people who want to join Jesse's village. But I decide, hey, yeah, the village is going well. Obviously, it's been built well because initially I chose a bunch of people who were the best. If I've got to make a pasture, who's the best guy out there to do? Who's the best farmer around? I want someone to build our homes. And I'm out there looking for the best. Give me the best construction worker, home builder, get in here, the best doctor. But then something changes in my village. One day I decide, you know what? There aren't enough people with green eyes in our village. So from now on, we're gonna prioritize green eyes. If you've got green eyes, you move to the front of the line. How's the home building go from then on? Probably not right away, right? But over time, as I take this qualified guy and I say leave, and I take this qualified guy and I say leave, and I take this qualified guy and I say leave until I get to someone with green eyes, over time, what happens to the homes in my village? As I do this with my doctors, and that's happening here in America, and I have the best doctors lined up, and I say, no, your eyes are brown, get lost. Oh, no, your eyes are blue, gone. Until I get to one with green eyes. How long until my medical care just starts to die and go downhill? Prioritizing things like gender and skin color. Are you gay? When you're trying to fill up a nation with qualified people, when you place a priority on that which does not matter, you will inevitably sacrifice what does matter. If we have officially moved, and we have officially moved, from a merit-based society into a society that places huge amounts of emphasis on things that don't matter at all, well, everything's gonna die. And it really is the death of everything, and that's what's so wild when you think about it. When you look around you, when you think about your day, I think about my day today. I woke up and breakfast with my sons. Maybe the stove breaks 10 years from now. Why? Maybe the stove manufacturer tossed all the merit-based people and he only wanted to hire gays. And so I get some below average gay person making my stove. It breaks when I have breakfast with my son. Maybe on the way as I drive them to school in the morning, maybe I have a blowout in one of my tires because whoever took over that tire company decided to we only got only women. And so a bunch of qualified men weren't there to make my tires, and then the tire blew out. Maybe someone gets hurt. Maybe a plane falls out of the sky. Maybe, God forbid, but me or someone I love, someone you love, maybe we have a brain tumor, and boy, it really needs to get out of there, and it's gonna take only the best surgeon, except the surgeon in my area isn't the best surgeon. He was hired because he was black, and I die, or you die, or someone you love dies. The death of everything. Diversity is an evil word. It's a stupid thing to ever brag about, let alone prioritize. I don't care if I have a diverse studio here of producers. I don't give a crap what color any of them are, what gender any of them are. Show up and be the best or get gone. That's what I care about. That's what a nation interested in its own survival cares about, and our nation doesn't anymore. At the highest levels. That's what's so amazing. It would be one thing if we were sitting here discussing the sociology department at Berkeley. This is the press secretary. This is the voice of the President of the United States of America.
I want to take the opportunity to lay out how diverse the president's cabinet has been, how diverse the president's administration has been. The cabinet is majority people of color for the first time in history. The cabinet is majority female for the first time in history. A majority of White House senior staff identify as female. 40% of White House senior staff identify as part of the racially diverse communities. And a record 7 assistants to the president are openly LGBTQ+. So again, this is something that the president prides himself on, that he actually has taken action to show the diversity of this administration.
He sure has. And that's why our president regularly meets with actors and actresses and hangs out with people while Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin meet to solidify an Asian domination of the planet. We have the most insane people running this nation. This goes way beyond the government now. Corporations do this, airline industry does this, trains do this, food processing, medical industry. You know what? Let's go back to Corinne Diversity Hire, because she's actually a great example. Everyone isn't good at everything. You have different skill sets. It takes a different skill set to do what I do than what you do. I couldn't do your job. Maybe you couldn't do my job. Not that this is difficult. People have different skills they're given. And you need different skills for different jobs. Tom Brady's a great NFL quarterback. Maybe he would be really bad at building homes, pounding nails. I don't know that, but maybe he would be. As Press Secretary of the United States of America, your job, your entire job, you don't even have a second job. Your entire job is to be the voice of the White House, the president, the Joe Biden presidency. You are supposed to get up there every day and be his voice. Meaning what? That means when you get up, you should be able to speak and speak clearly. In fact, you should be one of the best, if not the best, in the country at speaking. But when you prioritize, well, we need a black lesbian, this is what you end up with.
Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI was done in a bipartisan, bicameral way. Bipartisan support. Dr. John Clauser, who won the Nobel Prize in Physics, and Dr. Douglas Diamond, who won the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences. Okay, the Vice President will visit the DMZ. Nearly 70 years since the Korean armistice, the visit using energy, they're weaponizing energy, and it's choosing to one of the things that has been out there, to shut down the pipeline of Nord Stream 1, instead of risking their lives at the hands of human strugglers. Human strugglers.